Now, I am getting ready to celebrate my 80th birthday very soon, maybe by the time you see this. And one of the things that has helped me enjoy every one of these years is my bike collection. Riding motorcycles, even when you get older like me, it's still a lot of fun. And to me, it's a lot more fun, say, than some of the more sedentary things in life. I enjoy riding all of the bikes in my humble collection, but most of all, when I want to really put a scare on myself, it's time to get on this puppy. No traction control. This is the last year they didn't add traction control as safety features, and the year after this, 2010, they were a lot safer. But this one is a monster, and it's time to get out on the open road and see if he bites. Pre-flight is done. Final check of the weather. Final cup of coffee. Maybe a little extra coffee. Beautiful day. This looks like we're going to have a great day on the open road. And anytime I can get out on the open road, I feel like it's a little trip to the fountain of youth. And one of my favorite stories is from my friend Scott out west. And Scott, I never forget this. He had a friend that was riding motorcycles, and he came to Scott and he said, "I'm going to have to sell my bike." "Well, why do you have to sell your bike?" He says, "Well, my wife said I'm getting too old. I'm going to be 40 years old. Too old to ride motorcycles." He gave him the link to my channel. Now, I don't know how it played out. I don't know if this ended in he didn't. See, this is the part Scott never told me. Did he still keep riding? Or did he get divorced? Or did his wife murder him? There's more to be. I could make a movie out of that, I think. But how many people quit riding? And this is my point. How many people quit riding and a year later they look back and say, "Wow, I wish I didn't sell my bike, my GS, my R1, my whatever." And then 2 years later they regret, and by then, it's well, the ship has kind of sailed, I guess. But I know the friends of mine that are in their 70s and 80s and keep riding. They all stay pretty physically fit up to a point. And if you ride safely and have a radar detector, you don't wind up in a prison in El Salvador or something. But anyway, this is really one of the tools that I use, and I don't take it lightly. I'm extremely careful. At my age, I wanna have fun until Daddy takes the R1 away. Another great story from Ray in Florida. Has my original race bike. After I restored it, he got it back. But the great story is he went to a bike meetup, and a guy with a really old Harley, I believe it was, came up to him and asked him, and Ray is 83, by the way, and still rides the wheels off the bikes. the old guy comes up to him and he says, "Sir, could you bend over and check the oil here?" And I can't bend over anymore. And he said, "Well, why can't you bend over? What's the problem?" He said, "Well, I got all this aches and pain, this aches and pain." He says, "And I'm 94 years old. So at 94 to still be riding and a big bike, not to go down and get a smaller, lighter bike, I'm impressed." Now that's a guy. If he were up in our group, we would hero worship him. Now I'd love to know how many years he's been riding. If he's 94 and he started riding at 20, that's pretty cool. But anyway, I think, and I'm really, every time I hear a story, I think even more that I'm right. I think if you're interested in motorcycles, especially if you work on them too, it tends to keep you young. And I know many, many, many of my friends that are in the 70s and 80s, and they are very, very accomplished riders. Maybe they've slowed down a little bit, like I have. I have certainly slowed down, and I want to enjoy the ride a little bit more. And my energy is limited, but I still have 2 or 3 hours of good energy every day. And what's funny is, I think it's hilarious when you meet up with somebody who's a relatively new rider and they've got their first R6 or their first, in a lot of cases, some other bike that suits their needs. And hey, you ride with them a little while, you get to know them a little bit, and then you say, well, let's go for a ride in the twisties. Let's just get into it a little bit. And when you do, a lot of times they are really at a disadvantage. They think because you're old, or you're 79 or 80 years old, or whatever you are, or 94, they think they're just going to have like cat and mouse games with you. What it winds up is, sometime at the end of it, and more likely than not, the cat gets to eat the mouse. Another funny story, anybody who's a model airplane guy will know this guy, Dave Cook. He was a really great runner and skinny as a rail. And when he got old, he got a job working in the prison. And he got to know some of the people there, and he says, why don't we organize, let's get the prisoners out and we can do like a running thing. And I guess this wasn't a high security prison in Massachusetts. And the guys all looked at him and said, come on, you're in your 70s and you can't compete with us guys. We're all muscled up and all tough as nails and everything. And man, all the tattoos and scars and everything. And so they had this little impromptu race, and he made some kind of bet with them that if he won the race, they had to do some embarrassing thing, and I don't even remember what it was. But Dave was the kind of guy, he went out and smoked them and left them with their tongues hanging on the ground. And to this day, I always think that's the thing about being old. You can fake out a lot of people who don't know how cool you really are. And being honest, my life is full of well, little funny stories like the ones I'm sharing on this video. And I got caught on the wrong side of this many times where I thought, wow, I'm a young guy. Hey, I got my RD 400 or whatever, a dirt bike, and there'd be some guy that I thought, man, I'll have no trouble with this guy. We're going to go riding in the woods, or we're going to go do a track day or whatever. And boy, oh boy, sometimes you really don't think it through. And it's because I tend to hang around with people that are a little bit older. I'm not into the teenage let's do a wheelie down Main Street crowd. Some of the people that get to be my age or even older, they still know how to ride. And then you find out sometimes, like Ray found out in Florida, he's riding with a guy, and when they stopped, the guy said he was a professional flat track rider for many years. He had an AMA license. So holy mackerel. Or you have somebody like Joe Padula that had an AMA license to road race, and he's in the crowd, and you're just looking at people, and you don't realize what a great person he is. And Joe, I know Joe. Someday I'm going to get him to tell his story on video. Joe, if you're watching this, Joe, from his years of road racing, he has got a lot of very cool stories in the future. And I always hear from people who, when they were younger or for whatever reason, they sold their favorite bike. In fact, another great story I heard, and I got this on the comments section, is somebody who had a GS, and as years went by, he, for whatever reason, sold it. And many years later, was able to buy it back from the person who bought it from him. And I would bet any amount of money that rejuvenated his youth, that added years to his life. To be able to get back a bike that you've sold and to get it back, wow, that's a pretty cool story in itself. And I wish I could buy back some of the things I sold when I was younger. Boy, if I could get back this item, that item, my Air Coupe, my 47 Air Coupe, my 55 Chevy, there's a million things. But as you get older, the one thing that happens is you appreciate everything you have, and I appreciate still having my R1. Oh, I hope you enjoyed sharing this day with a senior citizen riding his R1 and making the most out of the deck that I've been dealt, and trying to make every day just a great day of riding and a great day to share with you on YouTube. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click, and it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen, playlists. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.